What is up, guys? Welcome on back to TK's Garage. And well, John Elkann, the chairman of Stellantis, has been meeting with the current president, Donald Trump, for the last 4 days. So even before his inauguration, he's been meeting with Trump and multiple people in his administration, including some newly elected senators. That's going to get relevant here in a minute. So I saw this over on U.S. News and World Report, and to be honest, I got this information in from two of my sources that are executive level, and I was like, interesting. Because normally, like, if Elkann's coming to the United States, I'll know about it like a day or two before, but it evidently was super hush-hush, and I didn't get any notification from any of my sources that he was here. So when they reached out and said, hey, you know, the president and John Elkann actually had a whole sit-down hour and 40-minute conversation, I was like, yeah, that's BS, because nobody hit me up and said that he left, and I haven't seen anything else on the news. Well, U.S. News and World Report dropped. Stellantis chairman John Elkann spent 4 days in Washington meeting with the incoming U.S. President Donald Trump and several top administration officials. The talks underscore the efforts of business leaders such as Elkann to build ties with the new U.S. administration, while Trump threatens to disrupt the status quo with major economic trade policy changes, namely tariffs. Trump did not immediately introduce tariffs as he took office on Monday, but said he was thinking about imposing a 25% duty on imports from Canada and Mexico on February 1st. Stellantis makes some of its models it sells in the U.S. in those two countries. Basically, the Dodge Charger, the Chrysler minivan, both of those are made in Canada. And the 2,500 to 3,500 trucks and the Wagoneer S is all made in Mexico. So in his inauguration speech, Trump took aim at electric vehicles, revoking a 2021 executive order signed by Joe Biden that sought to ensure half of all new vehicles sold in the U.S. had to be electric by 2030. That's now gone. Tax credits for EVs, gone. And emission standards, with Lee Zeldin coming in to run the EPA, you can basically kiss those goodbye. Elkann, who's currently steering Chrysler and Jeep parent Stellantis while the automaker looks for a new CEO, was among global top executives who were invited to the inauguration ceremony. However, after the talks with Trump and his entourage, he flew back to Italy, missing the inauguration, to welcome seven-time world champion Lewis Hamilton as the new Ferrari Formula One driver. So here's some of the inside information I got. Evidently, Elkann was not too pleased with the conversation that he had with the incoming president, or the current president, Donald Trump. So much so that he didn't stay for the inauguration. He could have stayed for the inauguration. Other people could have linked up with Lewis Hamilton, or he could have met with Lewis Hamilton at a later date. They're using that as an excuse. Part of the reason being is Trump has now got it in his head, thanks to Senator Moreno from Ohio, that Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram should be split off from Stellantis to be its own entity in America, where things are built in America. One of the things, I guess, that was frustrating to Elkann, according to some of my executive sources, is Trump has no wiggle room on tariffs or vehicles being built in America. If it has an American brand or a label on it, it needs to be built here, according to the current president. So what is this going to do for Stellantis? Well, it puts Elkann in a interesting position. They knew that this was a possibility. It's why they haven't announced a CEO for Stellantis yet. They want to do what they need to do to appease, and I hate to say it that way, but that's what it is. They want to appease the current president in Donald Trump to maybe work out a deal where they're not having to pay these tariffs and or move all of this production from Mexico and Canada to the U.S. I think what happens is, Elkann will end up having to work a deal. They're going to look at possibly getting some investment, maybe dropping another IPO a la a Ferrari, which we saw in 2015 when they split it off to become its own company. I think we see that with Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Maybe they leave Fiat and Maserati as part of Stellantis, but it's going to have to be a significant split money-wise to make it work for Stellantis, because right now Ram and Jeep basically pay most of the bills. Like, that's where the money is coming from Stellantis. They're not profitable off any of the other brands. The other brands are not making the money. You can get in my comments and tell me, oh, DS is trying to compete with Bentley, DS this, DS that. DS nuts, okay? DS is great, awesome. They're going to try to make luxury cars, and they're doing their thing. Doesn't matter here. And it looks like Europe is not going to back off of these emissions. So with that happening, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram are kind of held in a spot where they have to, as part of Stellantis, comply with these European emissions, while everybody else here in America that's an American company doesn't. And they're going to build cars that people want. It's so much so that even Toyota is looking at bringing back a V8. I'll have more on that for you later. But yes, Toyota is looking at bringing back a V8 to the Tundra. Wonder why that is. That inline six twin turbo crap ain't been working out too good for anybody. So, I'd love to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I think there'll be more leaks and there'll be more information on the conversation that was had between Trump and Elkann. But hey, when you talk to somebody for an hour and 40 minutes, you kind of know where the other people are standing. And I think Elkann now knows we either have to divest Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram, or we're just going to have to pay a bunch of fines in Europe and build stuff that the Americans want and move some of this production from Mexico back to the United States. I don't think we're shutting down production in Canada anytime soon. I just don't. It's literally right across the water from Detroit. Like, I just don't see that happening, okay? That said, I do see, 2,500 and 3,500 truck production moving back to the United States. That I definitely see for sure. The Cherokee coming back, whether that's going to be built at Belvedere or Sterling Heights or wherever, it's going to happen. And just seeing all of the stuff that's starting to change gives me a little bit of optimism. But I think you're going to hear some news here rather quickly on Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram either splitting, or you're going to hear some, we've been clamoring for the V8s, and Tim Kuniskis is kind of like waffling on this now. I think you're going to see a drastic change. So I had friends that were actually at the inauguration yesterday, and he knows who he is. And he told Trump directly. It's on a TV shot. If you go back, you'll see it. And he's a Mopar fan. He's a big Mopar fan. I ain't going to expose him. But he told Trump, hey, man, we need to free these V8s. He said he's going to do it. We'll see. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Give this video a big thumbs up if you like what I do. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And as always, stay petty, my friends.